expect the grand jury to, the hearing on the 20th to be put off if, I mean, based on what happens tomorrow, if they say there's nothing wrong with the...
If I understand, the request of the grand jury is to postpone or delay the judge's order. So I guess the logistics is, so when does the court clerk send out the summonses for the people to show up Monday? Well, it can't be Monday, and it really can't be Friday. And I don't know the answer to that question. Is it today? You know, and then if the Supreme Court says, don't come until we've answered these questions ourselves. The questions of, was it a legal process or not?
For people who say that that's kind of a technicality, the signature, I mean, is he really fighting the principle behind the grand jury, or is he fighting the fact that they didn't follow the right process?
You know, I think when people understand that a grand jury is not like having a town hall meeting, this isn't a bunch of community people that sit around and say, I've got some good ideas of how you should do it better. When your entire career is on the line and you think that what these people want is one thing only, they want you removed, then I don't think anybody would take that lightly. I don't think anybody would say, so let's just cut all the corners we want to cut. He's going to say, no, we're going to follow the law, because at the end of the day, you want me out. You want to fire me, and I am going to take that seriously, as would any of the 23 elected people in this building. There's not a person in here that, if they weren't subject to a grand jury, wouldn't say, just do it right from the start. You're accusing me of not following the law. I just want you to follow the same law.
So initially when he said he wouldn't, he didn't have a problem with the grand jury, like early on, he indicated that.
I don't think he has a problem going in front of a grand jury saying, no one has told the true story about Mr. Bates' training. No one has told the true story about Mr. Alman or Mr. Major Huckabee, okay? Because I have not been allowed to talk on advice of the district attorney because Mr. Bates has rights. So I can't talk about his case. I can't talk about the other two deputies. I can't talk about it. And no one's ever asked the sheriff, why can't you talk? The district attorney said, you can't speak until I'm done with that case. Then you can say whatever you like. And he said, can I speak in front of the grand jury? Well, sure, that's private. Okay.
Kuntz-Weiler told him he couldn't talk?
Yes.
When was that?
Way back when he charged Bates. He said you cannot prejudice his rights by punishing the other officers or talking about Mr. Bates, whether he had training or not. That's my job as a district attorney.
How different is the true story from what we've been told time and time again?
Well, all you're able to see at this point is the prosecution of Mr. Bates. You've not been able to hear anything from the sheriff on the allegations made against him because he can't talk about that case while it's a pending case. That's true with any criminal case.
So how different are the
versions?
Yeah.
Well, the sheriff's absolutely convinced that it was Mr. Bates' training. He had all the training. He had all the training requirements. He had all the training certifications. That will probably come out later in the hearing, but he knew that he had all of those. Okay? And there's other things that he can talk about, but he can't talk about it until the district attorney says, I'm finished with Mr. Bates' case.
He knew at the time, before the shooting, at the press conference, he knew that he had all the certifications?
Yeah, he knew that having been a former Tulsa police officer and going through the police academy and gone through the CLE training, he knew that in the state of Oklahoma, if the question was asked, was Mr. Bates a trained and qualified reserve deputy in the state of Oklahoma? The answer is yes. Do you have records that show that? The answer is yes. What this whole issue was about, CLE.
But he said he qualified with all the training that reserve.
All of the things that this was about was that the sheriff actually demanded more.
Right.
Was required by the state.
And did he do more?
And he did more, but he didn't do all the more. So, but the question is, it's a real simple yes or no question. Was he or was he not certified and trained as a reserve deputy to put on that uniform and sit in that car?
So
the answer is yes.
Was the internal affairs report wrong then? The findings of the internal affairs report wrong?
The internal affairs report?
2009.
The internal affairs report didn't speak to CLE training. The internal affairs report spoke to the training the sheriff required, which was above and beyond CLE training.
Well, it spoke to the people were intimidated within the sheriff's office to say that he was
I wasn't
trained.
here, so I don't know about. I'm just talking about. Back to the question: was he or was he not state certified to be trained, to be in that car, and to be in that uniform? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Okay,